Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Okay, so hey, there are times when we all could use a little extra help and support in our lives. Whether there's something you're struggling with or just seeking connection with other people who understand what it's like to be in your situation, Inovia Behavioral Health can help. Inovia is a subscription-based organization that provides unlimited access to a wide variety of educational, experiential, and therapeutic support groups that are led by live expert facilitators. Now, you can get 20% off your membership with the discount code Cookbook20 when you subscribe. Check it out today at inoviabh.com. Inovia, feel better. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and today I'm thrilled with my guest. Frank Demming and I met a few months ago, and we've become friends, and we found a lot of symbiosis in our businesses. And we have our friend Fabienne Raphael, who introduced us to thank. And so I'm going to read Frank's bio and bring him on. He's a pretty awesome guy. Okay, so Frank Demming owns and operates a lead generation digital marketing agency called Local Business Marketing Solutions. He started out by helping local professional services, attorneys, dentists, med spas, but he kind of pivoted to helping attorneys, and we'll get into that further. Prior to starting his business, Frank worked as a senior IT project manager for a high-profile government contractor. After getting burned out from working 70 to 80 hours per week in a high-demand job, he decided to use his technical skills differently and started his own business in 2007. Success, however, did not come to Frank right away. After 5 years of struggle and complete disarray, he realized that he needed help, so he joined a well-known coaching program and aligned himself with other goal-seeking entrepreneurs who made him realize what errors he was making. See, don't use the word errors, that's negative, we'll talk about that. But to make him realize what errors he was making and identified his true passion, I know you're laughing, helping small business owners increase their net worth and live the life they want to live. So in 2012, after Frank figured out what his passion was, he was able to create a clear message that was captured by his ideal target audience and quickly grew his business from a one-man show to a virtual team of 10 people in an 18-month period. He is now generating over 20 highly targeted prospects on a monthly basis. He has now turned his focus into helping scores of small law firms with very little digital footprint into achieving exponential growth within a 12-month period. They are consistently seeing over 25% growth in revenue within 6 to 12 months since working with him. Wow. So without further ado, let's meet Frank.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Iris. Love it, love it, love it.
I know you're laughing when he made the errors. My goal this year is to do nothing but positive marketing, right? So taking all the bad word stuff out. So
amen to that.
Yes, sir. So I love your story. I love a lot of people that I've spoken to did start their business because of burnout, because they were just corporate, kind of eat you up and spit you out. But what's the old adage? We'd rather work 100 hours for ourselves than, 40, 80 hours, whatever, for somebody else. So
yeah. I ended up working even more hours. So
right. Well, but we all do, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't mind because it's for us. We're helping us get rich and get to that next level, not somebody else.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about who your target is, who you're helping. I know it's the small law firm. So how did that love happen? How did you come to that?
With the law firms? Good question. The funny thing is, prior to that, I used to help, small businesses. I used to, med spas, HVAC companies, you name it. But I took the coaching program that I was talking to you guys about, that you mentioned in my intro there. They told me something that I did not believe. They told me No, you gotta pick a niche and just go with it. Pick a, pick one particular vertical and just go with that. And I found that so limiting, Iris. I was like, no, it can't be. What do you mean? That doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense. So I didn't listen. Long story short, I didn't listen to them. And after 3 years of having the same thing over and over again, although I was getting better success, I said, you know what? Let me listen to these guys. I mean, I paid them a lot of money to show me these things. Might as well listen to them, right? And I started listening to them, and I selected attorneys for a couple of reasons. Number one, attorneys. I looked at all of the people I was working with, and there wasn't one attorney at the time that left. Number two, attorneys get it. They get, hey, you gotta spend money to make money. Right. And number three, attorneys understand that if they want to level up, they're going to come to you for advice on leveling up. And the other people, the other niches, unfortunately, that wasn't happening. So I just selected them.
Interesting. And, it's not all small business owners. I think some don't get it, right? Some, we're sitting here, banging our head against the wall, telling them why marketing is important. And, I'm to the point now that if you don't understand why marketing is important, then I can't help you. I mean, I'm not, and some people would argue with me, it's not my job to convince you to do what you should do.
Yeah.
It's not. My job is to help you grow your business. And if you don't think that there's value in what I do, nothing I say is going to make you do it. And marketing is mostly intangible. I mean, you can show ROI for certain things, but not for everything. Correct. And I think that's where, people, hit that wall. It's like, well, I need to see it. And it's like, Mr. Customer, you're not going to get to see everything. You'll get to see some. Yep. But I can't show you every single thing that I'm doing and how it's intangible. So, the people that get it, and the people that don't. I was talking to somebody the other day about, marketing in a recession. And he was like, why would I spend money now? And I was like, why wouldn't you?
That's the best time to spend money.
Right. Because if your competitor is out there, and he's advertising and marketing and doing all this stuff in the recession, and you're not, who do you think people are going to be thinking about? Not you. Mm-hmm. Because you're not out there now. He is, or she is. They're out there, but you're not. So you're not an option.
Exactly.
And when you make yourself not an option, you're not an option.
But there's something you said earlier that I want to touch on. One of the things the reason why I selected lead generation is because I want to show my client immediate ROI. I used to do a lot of SEO stuff, and that's what I used to lead in with. And SEO is great. I love SEO. It's one of the greatest things in marketing. However, it takes a while. Depending on your niche, obviously, and depending on location, it depends on a lot of different things, but location, niche, and all that stuff, it's going to take a while. And what was happening is people was getting frustrated.
Right.
So when I selected the whole lead generation paid ads avenue, and they get that instant gratification, and then you can tweak from there, that catapulted me. So, that way I can show them an ROI right away.
When you're talking about paid advertising, yes, I guess I'm talking about organic, right? Yes. Because a lot of people don't want to pay for marketing and paid advertising. They Correct. They don't Correct. Get that correlation, and we need to talk about that offline. But the people that work with me, and it's everything I do is organic. We build the websites, we do the traditional marketing piece. Do you hear that hum? Is that me?
It could be me. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm hearing things. So I'm
You
not
got
hearing
good
noise.
hearing.
I actually, you know what? It depends on the level that it's on,
Right.
the tonality, I guess. High pitch, no. Low pitch, yeah.
Mm.
But I digress. Shocking. So, but when you build a website, when you try to help people with Google, and not even necessarily SEO, but their Google business profile, you know, one thing that people don't realize is that thing has to be optimized, and they don't. Man, I had a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "Well, I show up," but it's like, but you're not showing up because somebody Googled what you do. You showed up because they Googled who you are. They
Yeah.
Googled your name. But if
Right.
you Google what you do and those keywords and all of that stuff isn't in there, so that's like number one. And yeah, SEO takes a really long time. Social media, all of the organic stuff takes time. And if you want immediate results, you do want to do paid. But a lot of people don't want to do both. They don't want to fix their website and then have to do a paid ad. They don't want to maybe up their branding a little because their branding is stale and pay for paid ads. So that's what I run into. And I don't do paid ads. Well, I mean, I can't do paid ads until, like we talked about, next year. But even if I could, people, they're just really hesitant about just spending money. And it's like, you have to spend money to make money. I don't care. We have to spend money to make money. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm working with me to market my agency because, I don't have time to do all the things that I want to do. As we're talking, my website was up on the left screen, and I guess somebody's working on it now because like everything it was weird. Everything was like white.
Got you distracted, huh?
It did. Squirrel. So okay. So you find your success with your ROI in paid advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So do you create the ads? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, we create the ads. Once we, let's say you're an estate planning attorney, we do a research of the area they're in. We'll let them know. We fine tune the keywords that people are searching for. We have a mechanism and to show what was the activity, from, we can go as far as 18 months, but we normally go 6 months past. What were the highest clicked keywords in that area for that search term or several search terms. We try to pick around anywhere between 10 and 15 search terms for them, and then we create the ads for them. If there's an ad creative that we have to do for display ads, we create that as well. The landing page, we don't send anyone to websites, we send people to landing pages, and voila, and we're ready to rock and roll. The setup usually takes about 10 business days, I should say.
Okay. So for you lawyers out there listening to this, well, no, I mean, and that's another thing that people don't realize is when you are marketing for something specific, you need a landing page.
Yep.
For whatever it is that you're, and I ran across that as well, where, we were creating a website for somebody and they were like, well, I want to sell this. I said, well, we need to create a landing page for you. Why? I have my website. You have your website, but you have this offer and you want to direct them to the offer. So you need to, I think that may be one of the hardest parts is really trying to just like explain why they should be doing this. And people work with me because I explain things in layman's terms. I don't get technical. I don't get, I don't talk any of the CMO and CRM and blah, 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 blah. I break everything down and, and they love it. And that's a lot of times why people work with me. I actually had one woman, which was really funny, last month or in November. We were meeting for the first time, and after like 15 minutes, she's like, "Oh, I can definitely work with you." And I said, "Oh," she goes, "You explain everything so easy. Like I understand everything that you're saying." She goes, I spoke to somebody else like last week, and everything was all the technical pieces." She goes, "And I don't care." And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care how you make the omelet, just feed me.
Yeah. Clarity is key.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I that's the part that I love, actually, not the convincing you to work with me. Like if I have to convince you to work with me, then I stop after a while. I'm like, next.
Yeah. It gets old.
Right. I mean, it's just kind of is what it is. So, I said in one of the other podcasts, it's like, and I won't say it exactly the way I said it, but it was like, if you don't get it and you don't get me, then you're not my people. You're not the right fit. So, and I mean that's at the end of the day, not everybody's a good fit.
Nope.
For whatever reason. So,
exactly.
But so what made you decide to become an entrepreneur? I know that you got burnt out, but what was the minute that you were like, okay, I'm done?
I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of it.
You just dated otherwise, you just dated yourself, but okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm getting old. I have a birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. So anyway, the 22nd of January.
Okay.
But anyway, so the Reader's Digest version of it is this. So we back in 05, in 06. In 06, 05 something else happened, but it's gonna make the story too long. But 06, I was living in the DC area back then. And I was I wanted to come up to New York to visit family for Thanksgiving, and we were working on a government contract. I was working for a government contractor, excuse me. And I remember it was this huge project we were working on, and I was the lead project manager, had everything going. That Wednesday, I went home. I packed my bags, and my plan was to wait around 11 o'clock when traffic died down a little bit, and start driving up. I was telling my wife, we were going to go up, and so we did that. Around 8:30 at night, my phone rings, my cell phone rings, my job cell phone rings, and my boss calls me, says, "Frank, we need you to come in on Friday because the government changed the specs of the project we're working on, and it didn't change the deadline. So Friday you got to come in." And I'm like, "You don't understand. I'm gonna be in New York. I don't know. You're gonna have to figure it out. We need you to come in."
Wow.
So long story short, I went up to New York, had Thanksgiving, and then my wife and my children stayed up there. They were young back then. They stayed up there with my wife, and then I took the train back. And are you back?
So yeah, something froze. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So then, what happened?
So you took the train back.
Right. So I did the whole thing, and I did what I had to do, but that was what catapulted me into saying I've got to do something. And I took my skills and I applied it to what I do today. So I was building websites for the government. I was doing all of this stuff. So one thing I didn't say in my bio is that I started out just as a website developer and also a business coach for small businesses, so that they know how to do their own websites and their own marketing.
Okay.
So that's that. But anyway, that's what, to answer your question, that is what made me that incident, along with something that happened in 2005 as well, is what I was like, you know what, I've had enough.
It's done. Time. Yeah.
And I didn't want to look for another job. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think, I was on a podcast earlier today, and it's like we're unemployable. I
Yes, we
mean,
are.
right? I mean, we're not going to work for anybody again. Like we couldn't.
Yeah.
I think when you get to the point of entrepreneurship, you're done. You're just,
If you're in the game long enough, you're done. Because
yeah,
I know a couple of people that have been in the game, 2 years, 3 years, and they go back to corporate.
yeah. But then they're not real entrepreneurs because I think
Right.
you either have that spirit where you're going to see it until you're dead, or or you just go back. I had a about a 6 month period where I was thinking about it. I was like, man, this is just, I need that steady money. I need the, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I started thinking about working for somebody again. And the, all of the lack of freedom, all of the rules, all that weren't mine, all of the, control. And it was like, no, I'll suck it up. I'll make it through. And, here I am. But I mean, it's hard. It's not, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
And it's,
they think they can do it, but you gotta have grit. You gotta have
yes, you need, what is it? Moxie. You need
uh,
grit, moxie.
uh,
You need tenacity, man. You need
yeah.
tenacity because it is, yeah, it's, so what advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I I'm going to tell them what I was told. That it didn't seem like great advice the time I was told this, but I now know that is the best advice I could ever have received. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
That was, I mean, I was told that in 2009, and I blew it off like everything else. But it was the greatest thing anyone could have ever told me back then.
Because
Because it's true. I I used to think so I'll give you a story as to why it was true. I used to think, oh well, you gotta hire me because I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. And I was also very introverted. I'm still a little bit introverted. And I was not able to communicate clearly my message when I was going networking. And one of the things I hated was networking. To this day, I still do not like it. But getting back to the statement, get comfortable being uncomfortable, I had to get comfortable networking. I had to get comfortable asking questions, asking questions of a prospect that can get into the weeds of their business. I had to get comfortable doing that so I can get to the problem, what they're having, so I know how to fix it. So that advice, get comfortable, being uncomfortable, was awesome.
interesting. And it is hard. And if you're not an extrovert, networking is a bitch. I mean, it is. It's,
Yeah.
if you don't, I happen to be a little bit of an extrovert. I know that's probably shocking. But
Really?
yeah, but I wasn't always, and people laugh when I used to say that I used to be an introvert. They were like, whatever. I mean, I remember the days when I would walk into a room and I would sit in the corner until somebody would come and talk to me.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was all being insecure.
Oh, so you really were introvert?
Oh, I really was.
Oh, I thought you were joking. Okay.
No. I mean, I was really, no, like, 100% true story. I was really, really introverted. I was insecure. And I didn't know if I belonged in that room.
Interesting.
So I would sit in the corner. And then somebody would come and talk to me. Now, when somebody would come and talk to me, then I would open up, but I wouldn't be comfortable enough to walk up to somebody and, now I walk in a room and it's like, hey, I'm Iris. How you doing? What do you do? I don't hand anybody a business card anymore, though. I think that's kind of tacky. If somebody asks me for a card, I actually have a thing called, I don't have my wallet on me, but it's called an OVU.
Yeah.
And it has a,
Awesome. Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about? It's got like the little, it's a plastic card. I can't tell you how many people try to take it. It's like, no, you can't have that. That's, you can take a picture of the QR code and it'll go to my page. Give me my card back. Which is like another story. But back in the day, you used to have like 300 cards with you and you'd walk into a room and you'd hand your card out to, everybody. It was what it was. Now, and especially since COVID, and especially since everything is now virtual, right? Networking is completely different.
Yeah.
It's a introduction on LinkedIn, Fabienne, hey, Frank and Iris, you guys should talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get on a call and,
a few
like
months
10
later,
minutes in,
months later, we're on a podcast.
A few months later, we're on a podcast. But 10 minutes in, we knew that we were going to be talking, like that this wasn't going to be the first time we talked.
Correct.
So, and that's all it takes now. 10 minutes, 15-minute phone call. And do you and that person click? Are you and that person going to partner on something or collaborate or work together or whatever? Are you and that person going to become friends?
Yeah.
It's a different world now. And networking is, I think it's changed a bunch. I was on a call with the dames and it was this huge, I don't know, there were like 50 people on there. And I'm like, how in the hell are we going to connect with 50 people? And next thing I know, I'm in this like breakout room. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm in a room with like 4 other people and we have 15 minutes to kind of go through what we do and kind of give each other however many minutes. And I'm like, well, that's like speed dating almost.
Speed dating, yeah.
Right. And it was like a whole different thing, but it gave you enough of a window to be like, okay, I clicked with one person in this room or 2 people in this room.
Right.
So it's changed. It's changed a lot.
Yeah, it has.
So do you do networking now where you are, or?
It's funny. Since COVID, I have not been out networking. I'm part of BNI, which is a form of networking. Yeah, but I don't do like the chamber anymore. I used to do a lot of chamber events. What I'm doing now is going to a lot of law firm events and getting a table there.
Smart.
That's what I'm doing.
Good.
But networking, like just to go out and meet people, no.
Are you in a virtual BNI chapter or?
I'm in a virtual chapter. Yes.
Okay. We just launched an in-person. We're actually going live, meeting in person for the first time next week. And I vowed I would never do it again. But I want to get back in front of people locally because I've been virtual for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm getting, I have national clients. I'm going to probably have an international client. No, I am going to have an international client next month. And it's actually crazy. Like if you would have told me 3 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it now, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. But everything is just so different now. So the people that are out there that are seasoned entrepreneurs, they're like, they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
What are obstacles that you've overcome, or an obstacle that you've overcome that they might be going through, and you've come on the other side of it?
So remember, I started my business in 2007.
Right.
You know what happened in 2008?
Yep.
And then and then
Well, the people listening might not. So why don't you touch on it for a minute?
okay, right. So and yeah, we had a market crash. The economy went to you know what, and it was terrible. Every businesses was closing down. Um, there was no quote unquote money out there. And yet I started this business. When I started the business a year earlier. And it was hard to get clients to part with their money. I'm not going to lie, but I had a system which I actually wrote a book on it. I don't know if you knew about my book, 7 Steps to Recession
I
Proof.
didn't know about your book. No.
Yeah, I have a book called 7 Steps to Recession Proof in Your Business. The reason I wrote that book is because of how I survived 08. And everything was because of online. Because if you think about it, so just so full disclosure, the program I joined was a guy, I'm sure you know, there's a guy named Dan Kennedy.
Okay.
So Dan Kennedy had everybody read a book called The Blue Ocean. And it talks a lot about recessions, and it talks a lot about getting marketing to the affluent. In other words, it doesn't mean that just because they have a lot, you could be a startup and be affluent, right? It doesn't matter, because by the time the recession impacts them, it'll be over. So,
Yeah.
I came up with a strategy, and it's all in this book, of what to do for your business, whether you're an attorney or, I mean, at that time when I wrote that book, it was just for every business. It just wasn't attorneys, to make sure that when a recession hits, you're recession proofed.
Interesting.
So I would say advice to those entrepreneurs: read that book. It's on Amazon.
Wow. Shameless plug. Okay, that's cheating, but all right. Oh my goodness. So with well, I mean, you said something happened in 2005 that was another catalyst. And we have time. What happened in 2005?
So I used to work for well, I didn't work for him. I was peers with this guy named Tom Yao. Never forget the guy. Great guy. Very hardworking. No one worked harder than Tom Yao. This guy lived and breathed this company. I mean, if there was a joke out there that said if they were to cut his vein, blood wouldn't come out. The logo would come out of his veins.
Wow.
That's how much this guy loved it. So I'll never forget, one day I was coming back. It was after 9/11. I was, one of the projects that I was working on, the project that really killed me, was the 9/11 project. I was the project manager that was in charge of distributing the all of these mechanisms to read your DNA when you go through, when people do the thing in the airports. So I did, there's a software. So the company that I used to work for wrote the software, and then L3 was the hardware piece. So we had, it's difficult to explain on this podcast, but it was a pretty intense project. So I was coming off of that project. Finally, it was 05 now. And my boss put me on another project, because basically the rollout was going, they didn't need me anymore, because I was on the development side. I'm a technical geek. I love technology. I've been a programmer. Anyway, I digress. So we
all do. Go ahead.
So I was coming back from lunch this day, and because I felt like almost relieved, Iris. I was like relieved because I was working like 100. I mean, forget 70, 80. I was working like 100 hours back when that 9/11 project was going on.
Yeah.
The TSA project, I should say, was going on. So, but then I was like, man, I'm back to like 60 hours. Woohoo! I'm happy. Right. So I went to lunch, coming back, and I see Tom Yao, who was working on another project, and he looks really sad. And Tom was a really, really happy-go-lucky guy. So I said, "Hey, Tom, why the long face?" He goes, "Come to my office." Go to his office. He says, "Close the door." And he's like, "Frank, I was just told I got 60 days to look for another job because they got nothing for me." Tom
Are
had
you
been in the company for like
kidding me?
31, 32 years. And because that company, I don't want to mention the name, but that company used to
Right.
have an internal database of where you can search for jobs, you know. So basically, they gave him the link from the search. And I was like, "Tom, come on. You're the hardest working dude in this company. They're not going to let go of you, man. You'll find something. As soon as you put your name and they say, oh, Tom is looking for a job, you know how many offers you're going to get?" Anyway, long story short, 60 days came and left, and he was gone.
Wow.
That opened up my eyes, Iris, like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, because we're all dispensable, right? I
And I
mean,
said, holy smokes.
wow.
And I started it that sat with me because I still didn't know what I was going to do. Okay, so what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then when that thing happened in the next year in Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know it's not this.
Wow. And that's jarring when you see a guy that's been with a company for like 30 something years and
It's
then
like
they're like,
32
yeah,
years.
that's
32 years.
insane.
And he had the misfortune, unfortunately, of having, because he was an older gentleman. He was in his 60s, but I mean, mistakes happen. He had a 13-year-old. So it's not like, he was still raising kids.
Wow.
I was like, wow, Tom.
That's
I truly thought in my heart of hearts that he was going to find. I wasn't just blowing smoke. I was telling him because I mean, everyone loved Tom Yao. Everyone. But that's what happened in '05.
wow. That's brutal. That's brutal. When 9/11 happened, I was working for a company and it was I was out in Glendale Heights, and I was running the pretty much the customer service department. It was like operations, and 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden it was all hands on deck, and we were a cell site tower production company. So we made all the antennas and the cables and the connectors and all that. And I went from 40 hours, 45 hours a week to like whenever that phone rang, I had to get the warehouse manager in to get the stuff shipped out, to get, all the stuff going. And I got fired on my birthday in 2002.
On your birthday.
On my birthday. Oh yeah. I said to my boss, I was like, happy fucking birthday, chief. Because I used to call her chief. Yeah, wow. It was the company I worked for was French owned. And I'm not even sure to this day, like, why? Because they said it wasn't performance, that it was, I think that they just started. And then next thing I know, they're closing all of the warehouses around the country. Like any of the smaller. And then, yeah, it was kind of crazy. That was one thing that kind of opened my eyes. And then, and that was in 2002. And I wasn't anywhere ready to think of beginning to be my own boss or start a company or anything like that. But I do remember that the next job that the next company that I was with, like people were really indispensable. And I started watching it going, that's interesting. Yeah. And then, you start seeing that nobody is, it's almost like nobody's safe.
No.
And
I think it's actually worse now, Iris, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, because now people are well, there's like the great resignation that's happening, right? Because people are realizing that they're not safe, or they're realizing their value. And if they're we're going to hear barking in a minute. Right, actually, let's pause this for 2 seconds because they're about to go crazy. And I just want to, hang on. Sorry. But anyway, but yeah, so with the Great Resignation, people were starting to see that they were starting to see their value, but their employers weren't.
Right.
And
Right.
so they would leave, and then the other thing was toxic leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing. I mean, a lot of
It's
people,
huge.
and now, so I'm working with a lot of coaches now, and the coaches are coaching the leaders, to get them out of that. The ones that
Mm-hmm.
recognize that they have an issue. There are some that are like, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. And then all of a sudden, they don't have a job. And they don't realize that they don't have a job because they don't realize they have a problem. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's huge. And I mean, I can't tell you the amount of toxic leaders that I worked for. And but their bosses didn't realize they were toxic leaders. So what does that say about them? They were getting the shit done. They were getting the numbers in. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Now it matters.
Well, not to get on a rant here, but a lot of things, what's happening is social media. Social media is exposing a lot of things.
Mhm.
And, I mean, people are getting catching on to it now, and they're stopping. They're not posting as much as freely as before. But social media is really exposing some of these toxic people.
Oh yeah.
So that's my take on it.
But I think it's a good thing.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I think it gives people their power back where they didn't think they had their power back. So I was talking to somebody who is a Gen Xer, which is like kind of funny. And, because I'm in that boomer area.
Mhm.
But I'm not the typical boomer. So what's that saying that they say, whatever it is, shut up boomer or whatever.
No, you're not the typical boomer.
I'm not the typical boomer, but the Gen Xer was like, oh, if I was in a toxic situation, I got out. I made sure I found another job and then I quit. And the boomer generation, we didn't quit. We stayed because that's what you were taught to do. You don't leave. You don't, you stay until, you die. And when I started seeing that personally, it was like, why would people stay in situations like that? Like, why am I staying in this situation? Well, okay, I need the money.
Those are hard questions, right, to ask, right?
Right. Well, I need the money. I have to contribute. I have to bring money in. I have to this, that, and the other. And then I got fired and I started this. And when I started this in the beginning, it was crazy. It was like the first 6 months were like amazing. And then I had to have shoulder surgery and my pipeline went, gone. Because I was down for really about 6 weeks. And those 6 weeks, I mean, for the first 4 weeks, I was out of my mind on whatever drug I was on, for my pain. So I wasn't really doing business. And I mean, it was what it was. But what I started seeing, and, I'm doing this 9 years now in this business. What I've been seeing is the clientele is changing. So the clients are changing. I've as a person changed. Right. So I'm definitely making sure that my clientele changes. But there were things that I saw that I would put up with that there's no way in hell that I would put up now. And then I look at it and I'm like, why did I, put up with that? And then what I was charging for a website, what I was charging for my services, it was like, the hell was I thinking?
Well, it's growing pains.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And now it's a whole nother story. I mean, quality product, quality, everything. And it changes things. So what, and I know the answer to this, and I think probably everybody listening at this point, but what's your differentiator? what makes you different than, like why would somebody choose to work with you as somebody else who works with lawyers?
Look at that smile that I have.
It's the beaming personality. That's what it is.
No, I love that question, by the way. I really feel that my differentiator is the fact that I won't take on someone that I don't know I can help. Like I give you an example. This just happened on the 3rd of January. Guy, we've been going, we were playing phone tag all through December, right? And then finally we get on the phone on the 3rd of January. Happy New Year, yada, yada, yada. I got the small talk out of the way. And his website was, he did estate planning, he did probate and all that kind of stuff. And I am well versed in that. I did all of the research. I knew exactly how to help this guy. However, I get on the phone with this guy and he wants to go a total different direction. He wants to do something with corporate law. He wants to do this, and he was doing something that was totally something a little off. Maybe it will be a great idea in the future, but it wasn't something. And I trust me, I wanted the project, but it wasn't something that I felt comfortable telling him. Yeah, we you're going to have success. And I think, going back to your question, I think it's honesty that I have that differentiates me. Now, I wouldn't take, now, I would have loved to take his money. It was a huge project, but if I can't sleep at night, I can't take this project. So that's just something that came up because I was so recent that I wanted to at least bring that up. Another thing is that I have specific verticals. Specific funnels for each vertical that I know is going to work for each vertical. It works time and time again. I don't care what state you're in, what city you're in, what town you're in, what county you're in. If you are in any of these verticals, and I'm gonna list them right now: estate planning, family law, personal injury, bankruptcy, and immigration law, you're set with Frank Demming because I already have that. Now, if you're in one of those other law, if you do like tax law, for instance, if you're willing to work with me as a professional marketer and know that I will figure this out, then yeah, let's go on. But I would have that disclaimer. But I won't give you because I usually give people a guarantee you're going to get at least 25%. Mm-hmm. Of it. I won't give you the guarantee because I have not worked with that niche. I said I can try it as much as I can. I won't give you the guarantee. But if you trust me as telling you the truth, then let's rock on. And then I'll create the funnel at that time. Guess what?
You have another funnel.
Guess what? That's how I created the other funnels.
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think that's awesome. I love that. And honesty it's so funny because some people don't want you to be honest with them. It kills me. That's one of my differentiators is that I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But if I don't tell you what you need to hear and I don't point you in that right direction, then I'm remiss and I'm not sleeping at night.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not,
fair. It's not fair to you.
If it's not fun not to sleep.
No, it's not fun not to sleep. But, I had a client, I guess like around, I say had because, and it was like I think it was in June, and he needed help with, marketing and a couple of other things. And, what he was doing wasn't working. Obviously, that's why, he was talking to me. It wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And I told him why it wasn't working.
Right.
And he didn't like that.
Oh, really?
He didn't like it. What do you mean? Are you saying I don't know what I'm doing?
Hmm.
Why do you want to work with me? If you know what you're doing, why do you need me? Well, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's that you probably know better. What? What? So I said, so you know what you're doing, but I know better, and that's why you want to work with me. Well, yeah, you pointed this, and this out. And I said, well, I pointed X, Y, and Z out because that's what you're doing now that's not working, and you need to fix that. And again, so you're basically telling me that, what I'm doing is wrong, and I don't know what I'm doing. And at that point, I'm just like, I didn't want to have this conversation anymore, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're not doing it the right way. And if you want to continue to do it the wrong way, then I'm not your person, because I'm not going to do it the wrong way,
Right.
And that was the end of that. But it amazes me how people just don't. I don't know. They don't want to hear the truth. What was that? A Few Good Men. You can't handle the
You
truth.
can't handle
I mean,
it. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of where it goes. And I'm like, okay. So if you want somebody who's not going to be honest, don't work with me,
Right.
because
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what to do, and I'm gonna tell you if I can help you or not as well. I'm like you in that
Yeah.
vein. I can totally help you, or there's no way
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
refer you to somebody who can help you, but I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of one thing I've noticed, and it started from November of last year. There are a lot of attorneys starting their own firms. A lot. I'm getting that a lot. Like, for instance, that guy was in a fairly large firm, and he was leaving, and he was going to start this obscure thing. But I've gotten others who, oh, yeah, I know my website says this, but here's what I want to do. Because I meet them on LinkedIn, they find, because I do a lot of marketing on LinkedIn. I do, so they find me, and then when I meet them, it's not what I thought, So it's weird. It's since I should say October. Since October, I've been seeing that
Really?
quite often. Yeah.
I wonder why. I wonder.
I guess corporate burnout too, man. That lawyers are just like us,
Yeah. Except they probably do a lot more reading than we've ever done. So,
100%.
I mean, okay. So your ideal client is a small business law firm.
Yeah. The sweet spot for me is that, that 2, 3, up to 5 man, like a law firm. What I mean by the law, the partners, like, how you have the, Demming, Goldfeather, Mahoney, and so, right? When it's like, if you have some, I work with some sole practitioners, but they're not all of them have the budget. But usually the small one. Now those huge conglomerate $100 million firms, no, I don't have one that, I may do some consulting services for them,
Right.
or if I'm lucky enough to get a website, I can do that. But in terms of marketing, no.
Okay. Okay. So for all of you lawyers out there, small, Demming, Goldfeather, Mahoney firms. That's gonna be the name of our whatever we end up doing. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you, number one, for being here. This has been, I think, a long time in the making.
Well, thank you for having me. Actually,
no, absolutely. This was fun, and it's so funny because I had Sam Leibowitz on yesterday, and he runs Talk Radio New York City, and then I had Scott on, and then Kofi and I have to do like a a little debrief. We're going to do like a podcast where it's kind of, us talking about our guests and how this last year, went and everything.
Right.
But everyone's like, you never have men on. And it's not for any reason other than I didn't meet any that, that I click with, or that, I thought would be a good fit, because, not everyone's a good fit, but, so I'm not a man hater. I love guys. I know I have a wife, but I still, love guys. And I'm glad, that we met, months ago. And I think, like I said earlier, we have a little bit of a symbiosis going, and we'll, talk about that. But
yeah, we'll keep that going. Yes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But so thank you so much for taking the time. And then the last question, that I ask all my guests. Yes, the hot seat. No, it's simple. It's what lights your fire. What are you passionate about? And
what lights my fire?
Yep. Huh. And it could be professional, personal. It doesn't matter. It's what lights you up. What are you passionate about?
It's so funny you said that, because I do a lot of the stuff I do because I love to travel. Getting, like, for instance, my girlfriend and I were just talking about, our plans for this year. So, I mean, we know we're going to Jamaica in April. We may go to Greece sometime in, maybe September, October. But, what else is going on? So that motivates me to go out there and find more attorneys that I can help.
There you go.
To then get to go to Greece, or get to go to, wherever place we select.
Can you work with a lawyer in Greece?
Maybe I can.
There you go. So
maybe that's what lights my fire.
All right. Travel. So being able to travel.
I got to tell you, it was so funny. Speaking of travel, this is a funny story, and then I'll let you go. In COVID, I didn't realize, to be honest with you, Iris, how much I miss travel, right? Until it was taken away from me. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it was this huge joke that I had, and my girlfriend says, like, don't ever say that in public. And I'm about to say it in public. But anyway, I now understand a drug addict or a crackhead that needs a fix, because it was as if when it was taken away from me, and I can no longer travel. And then when they put it on, with restrictions, you had to have a mask, you had to do all this stuff. I was like, I was on my internet, and, well, where can we go? And we can go. Oh, look how cheap it is. Oh my God. And I was like, I now understand the drug addiction.
Yeah. And it was cheap.
Oh yeah. We went to Florida, Iris, $88 each round trip from Newark, New Jersey down to Fort Lauderdale. It cost us $88. Huh. We were one of the first people on a plane after when they start, when they lifted all the stuff. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much I love travel. I was doing it like arbitrarily, and I was just, hey, let's go here. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do that. But when it was taken away is when I realized I have an addiction. So that's what lights my fire, is travel.
Okay. Cool. Well, don't say it's not necessarily an addiction. It's a love.
I just making fun of it.
I know. You're funny. Well, and we need to talk in the next week or so anyway, so we'll get that on the books. But so thank you. And thank you for sharing your addiction / what lights your fire. And for everybody out there, thank you so much, for hanging in there. And you know what? I mean, let me know what you think about our what we're doing, our guests, what are the things that you love about each guest that we have on. Let us know in the comments. Share, like, subscribe. If there's something here that, you think somebody that may be interested in, share it. Don't be shy, because we want to get out there. And yeah, so thank you for being here. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See you soon.